and they look up and there's life of quiet desperation. They snap at their kids. They have a sexless marriage. Their kids are watching this and their kids go on to do the same. That's a legacy. Or you can do the work. You can step forward and do the work and leave a different legacy.
Where you can provide a financial future for those you love or you care about and show them how to do it with living who you really are, your authentic self. That is letting your children know you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to do it the way others tell you. You get to live your own life.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the TPM Show. And we are lucky enough to have retained Brad Holt, our CEO and one of our head coaches, and also my brother here for this episode. And Brad's at the TPM Ranch. So today we got an interesting conversation. It's about legacy. So Brad, thanks for being here.
Hey, it's always awesome to be at the ranch, spending time with you guys. Man, if you haven't been to the ranch, guys, you got to get out here.
It is a picturesque day today. I'm dying to get out and get out there and have some good times. But speaking of good times, legacy. Legacy is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a lot. When you think of legacy, what comes up for you?
Well, when I was younger, legacy was always about me providing wealth to future generations or me having a title and people remember me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I was like, oh, that's my legacy.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, we have 5 territories in the Powerful Man. We have self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. So when you think of wealth tied to that legacy, you don't think about giving back philanthropically. What does it mean to you?
Yeah. So when I think of our wealth category, it is about legacy. And I do want to give my children a good life. I want to provide for those less fortunate than me. But also, it has nothing to do with money. You can leave a tremendous legacy by really stepping into being a real man. And your actions speak a lot louder than your words. And for all of us, we can really have an impact on those around us by just our actions. And we can truly leave a long-lasting legacy.
Yeah, so I do this exercise with a lot of the men, and it's a classic exercise, the rocking chair test. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Most people are. But for those that aren't, basically I'll talk to a guy, and we had a guy recently at an event, and he was upset. He was upset because he hadn't hit the 200 million mark, right? And to him, that was poverty. He wanted to retire and he wanted to leave a legacy. It was really important to him. And I asked him, I said, okay, let's just imagine. And this guy was a little younger, I would say mid 40s or so. I said, imagine now you're 75. You're sitting on your porch. You're sitting in your rocking chair with a glass of lemonade, a glass of whiskey, whatever you want. And you're reflecting on the most important things in your life. What are you reflecting on? And he sat there for a minute, Brad. And as he was sitting there, he looked at me and goes, my kids for sure. My wife, yes. The fact that I was able to regain my marriage. I thought I was going to be divorced. So it was super important that I put the work in. And he said, yeah. And you know what? Really, it's the time spent and the trips and the time spent with my family. That's what I'd be most proud of. I said, you never once mentioned money. And he paused for a second. He goes, you know what? You're right. He's like, I have all the money I need. And that was just a small moment of clarity. And then he started thinking about the legacy he was going to leave. Like you talked about, we always know, me having young kids, 4 and 7, they're always watching. I can make one comment in the truck as I'm driving with them, and 2 days later, I can hear them saying it or repeating it like parrots. Yep. They're always watching. So wouldn't it make sense to say they're also watching my actions with my wife, my actions with other people, or more importantly, my actions when I don't think anybody's looking?
I think it's tremendous. And it kind of interesting. We talk about legacy and we think of far out. That's why you work on yourself now, not just to fix my current problem, but that's how you do leave a legacy. People can see you invest in yourself. People can see the fruits of that labor and the blessings you're putting on other people, and they're watching. What I say is one thing, as my kids call it, it's one of Dad's life lessons, which I don't think is that funny. But
I do, because I know your kids.
Yeah. But when you watch them and they tell you what they think are traditions and how you act, you go, oh, there is a legacy, and they're influencing their friends. And that's much more important than any money I could ever leave them.
No, it's so true. And I'm going to give away a secret that the guys aren't going to like to hear, Brad. is when you look in the mirror every once in a while, don't you notice, or you see yourself on a Zoom video? That's another good one for guys. Do you notice your mannerisms start to be the mannerisms of your father? The words you say start to be the ones of your father. The little things you look back in the mirror and you go, oh shit, I'm doing what he does. We become that legacy, if you will. We become what's around us.
Yep.
Now, this also goes for our faults. You've picked up your dad's bad habits, your mom's bad habits, and they probably picked it up from their father and go down the line. You have the opportunity as a powerful man to break that chain and leave a legacy, a different path, right? For a lot of us, we haven't, men that are listening to this, weren't given great examples of marriage or healthy relationships, especially intimate relationships. So, we struggle. They don't teach in school. They don't teach interpersonal communication well in school. And so men struggle. You think, I say, I do, we get married, everything's going to be great. Put my head down, shut up, get to work, provide for my family. Everybody's going to love me. And they look up and there's this life of quiet desperation. They snap at their kids. They have a sexless marriage, or at least a passionateless marriage at the very least. And their kids are watching this, and their kids go on to do the same. That's a legacy. Or you can do the work. You can step forward and do the work and leave a different legacy, a legacy where your kids see a family that isn't perfect, but they handle disagreements in a loving way. They do things for each other, not because they're expecting something in return. That's horse trading. They're doing things out of pure love. That's also a legacy. And you get to pick which legacy you want to leave. But either way, guys, you are picking one of those paths.
And your life's ever changing. You remember when you turned 18 and they gave you that book on how to be an adult?
Oh, yeah. Nope, I just got advice from my brother.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
No, we don't. And we create stories. Can you imagine your 25-year-old self making decisions today?
Yeah.
And we go, well, this is the way my view of my politics are. This is the way the world works at 25. And we hold on to it. And for all the people who don't agree with this, how many of us go back at Christmas or at Thanksgiving and we walk into family dynamics and we fall back into line because of stories?
Yep.
And we get the choice to design our life. We get a choice to design our legacy. What do we want to pass on? And I love it because a lot of people say do work. And I don't know if they understand what that means. When you say do work, what does that mean to you?
When I say do the work, as we say it, I think it means the way I describe it is like being Indiana Jones and going on the deep adventure inside your own soul, inside your own body and your personality, conquering any demons you may find, finding the traps, going on an adventure with inside yourself and peeling back the layers.
I love that because there's two parts of me. There's the one who comes from the negative side, the judge, the critic. Hey, loser, you did it again. If you do this, you're going to be in trouble. That's what we call our stick man. But there's that childlike curiosity, question things, just like a kid, like walking down a beach, picks up a rock and like just looks at it for the first time. We need to do that on ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, it's 100% true. And I want to be clear on this. When we're talking about legacy, we're not saying there's anything bad with making a lot of money, leaving money for philanthropy or for your kids. I think that's good. In fact, I think I'll speak for you that both of us want to do that. But there's also, I think, as you're saying, an unspoken legacy or not spoken as enough. And what I want to make again clear is, guys, you are leaving a legacy. But is it a legacy of choice or a legacy of circumstance?
Yeah. And it comes back to the podcast you and I did a while ago is I want the guys to be light. You can make a lot of money and not be light.
Oh, yeah.
And you're leaving a negative legacy because what child would want that? That, they're going to be watching this. They're not going to watch the money.
Yep.
But if you can do both, where you can provide a financial future for those you love or you care about or causes you believe in, and show them how to do it with living who you really are, your authentic self, that is letting your children know you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to do it the way others tell you. You get to live your own life.
I love that. I love that. So what are a couple things a guy could do right now who's kind of hearing this for the first time and are hearing it in a different way? What are a few things he could do now to choose his legacy?
You know what? The first is I do a more morbid version of yours. Go to your own funeral. I like your rocking chair test. Is don't stay in your head. You got to write this out or talk it out to somebody else, there is a huge impact by doing that. And that's what I call doing the work.
Yep.
Because I can think about it, but I mull it over until I say it to like you or another coach, or if I start writing out, then I can see it. So where do I want to be? And I get to start to challenge myself. And the reason I wanted to start to do that work of where I want to be in the rocking chair test is I start to go like, oh my gosh. Like one of the guys I'm working with right now, when he had a vision, I got to buy this beach house. His case was a lake house. I got to get this for later. But his real vision was about family. Even people, his divorced wife, his whole family always coming around together. He is this loving presence, and they all came to him, and he was there as this wise person. Everybody in the family came. They felt safe. They felt loved. And then we had the discussion. I go, didn't have anything to do with a beach house or lake house. And I go, in this lake house, could all your family fit? And he goes, they couldn't. I go, I got to build a pool. I got to build a place where people want to come. And it changed it because he had told himself a story. Hey, when I'm wealthy, when I'm successful, I get a beach house.
Yep.
And that's a story he told himself. But when he went to his vision, when he started thinking about what he would legacy, they were very different.
Yeah, almost always when you boil down the why, like this is where, and men will relate to this, the businessmen, like when an employee asks for a raise, why? Why do you want that? What are you going to do with it? A lot of times people don't have an answer. They just think, it's always a round number, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing when you say, well, what's the end game for you? What's retirement for you? What does that look like? Oh, when I hit X amount of dollars in whatever it is, right? Liquid assets or what have you. And then when you ask why, just like this guy, the lake house or the beach house, when you break it down to what they really want, you can really compact time and get that much quicker. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have the money, but you can compact time and get that end result faster so you can live that legacy life longer.
And the men we work with are really smart and successful. So I even say you almost have to have why 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
Because intellectually, they know all the answers. Like, I want to lose weight. Why? I want to look good. Why do you want to look good? Well, I want to be more attracted to my wife. Why do I want to be more attracted to my wife? Well, I'm afraid she might leave me. Why do you think she might leave you? And then all of a sudden it comes out. When I was in high school, I got rejected. No one loved, and I don't feel worthy of it. You go, oh, it's much deeper. So you got to go deep and write that out. And then you get the real reason.
Yeah. And then you can, like you said, leave a true legacy and a legacy of knowing where you want to come from.
Mm-hmm.
And again, getting there faster. And when you can get there faster, you can build so much better because you have a better foundation with to build on.
Yep. It's going to surprise a lot of people because my children are older than your children, even though I'm younger than you.
Mm-hmm.
Just
watching your hand gesture. Sorry.
Is that my children, I wanted to be at good grades. They got into good universities. But when my wife and I really peeled back the onion, we didn't really care about the degrees. We wanted them to be happy, joyful, comfortable being themselves. And you kind of question some of the path we had chosen for them. It was the most efficient path to success, but was it the best for them? No, I wanted them to be joyful, and that had nothing to do with college. I wanted them to love themselves and to be real contributors to society. And there's many ways to do that. And so the legacy we want to leave, we had to start to redefine even as parents. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute. We got to watch our own stories. And we started to parent different because we challenged our own beliefs.
That's a really good thing. And I think challenging beliefs is so profound. I don't want to give away all the exercises we do here, but there's an exercise we do. I'll just say it. One of the exercises I do with guys often when I'm coaching them, when I do one-on-one mm-hmm. or otherwise, is I'll ask them where their beliefs come from. And they don't really start to question it. Where'd you take that on? Mm-hmm. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to be happy. You can't really trust anybody. You're on your own. All these things that people say to themselves, they think it's just common vernacular. You heard that somewhere. Mm-hmm. You took it on. What I have them do is I have them grab their cell phone, their smartphone, pull it out. I go, did you update your software this year? They're like, well, yeah, I've updated probably 4 or 5 times this year. When's the last time you've updated the software in your head? When's the last time you've updated the software of your beliefs? Mm-hmm. And I've never had one guy go, oh yeah, I've done that before. It's always like, oh crap, I haven't. So which means you're carrying forward the belief systems you picked up at 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Mm-hmm. which were handed down by your parents, probably in society, which they got it from their parents in society. So when you look at that, what is your belief system and what's the legacy you want to leave?
You know what it is? It's going back to basics. I skip sometimes, and my men skip it, they'll say, oh, I got it now, and they get off path again. And recently I went through it, is I got busy doing stuff, and the things that got me to where I was joyful and happy and pouring into those around me, I got off track. And I had to get right back to the very basics, get back into my routines, as we call them at TPM, and just follow my core values and what's really important to me. And there's no skipping it. I actually put in my calendar an hour a week where I just spend some alone time questioning everything. And also looking back is, am I doing what's most important to me? Because what I do in an hour in a week ends up being 4 hours in a month. You know, next thing you know, it's 50 hours, and it's all going towards this vision. So you got to be very intentional. If you're not intentional, next thing you know, you're just reacting to the world.
Oh, sure. Somebody's going to plan your life. You might as well make it you.
What is that saying? If you don't have a plan, you end up working for someone who does.
Yeah, that's for sure. But either way, I keep going back to it because I want to drill it in the guys' heads. It's a choice.
Yep.
You're choosing. You're either choosing not to plan or you're choosing to plan. Either way, it's a choice. You got to make your choice. You're choosing to leave a legacy that you want to leave, or you're just going to leave the legacy that was passed down to you by your parents and their parents and generations probably. And guys, this is the difference. You have a moment of insight now. They probably never had that moment of insight. Mm-hmm. So now you have the opportunity to make that change, first and foremost for yourself, but then also for your children.
Yeah. For me, that's our vision. We save children by saving their fathers first.
Yep.
But for me, my marriage is really important because that reflects on my children.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to say my marriage is important. So my wife and I, since I've been 20, go to marriage workshops every 2 to 3 years. And shockingly, every time we go, I find out that I have room for improvement.
That is shocking.
No, Julie doesn't think so.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious, but apparently I have room for improvement. And to be honest, it hurts.
Yeah.
But it's one of those take one step backwards so I can take two forward.
Sure. Well, we're kind of going off topic maybe a little bit here, but what always has dumbfounded me is if I'm talking to 5 businessmen
mm-hmm.
and I say, guys, I'm lacking in a skill set in business, mm-hmm. right? The first thing they would say is either hire an expert or learn the skill.
Yep.
Right. However, for some reason as men, as businessmen, when our marriage isn't performing the way that we want to, most men just sweep it under the rug and hope things will change.
Mm-hmm.
1 month becomes a year, 1 year becomes 4 years, et cetera, and it doesn't change. So at what time do you do what you would do in business is hire the experts and get the knowledge so that you can change the environment and change the outcomes?
It comes down to being intentional, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a choice. And nothing's more important than my family. And my kids will probably be married soon.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are 21 and 23. And I want them to find a spouse that's worthy. And I want them to be worthy to that spouse. And hopefully the legacy I'm leading is that they see me working hard to make my marriage work. Marriage is not easy.
No.
I have a great wife. I'm really blessed in that category, but we messed up a lot. And we just went through about a month, maybe 2 month lull where we're going marriage was hard. And that caught me off guard because we don't run into that patch a lot. And I had to get back down to basics. And there's now a lot of joy in the house. My kids see it. But also my daughter even said she saw when it wasn't. What am I showing my daughter by me being pissed off, me being snappy? She's watching it. She goes, I was really awkward. And she wasn't used to it. So she saw me do the work. And that's the legacy I want her to see, that it's okay to make mistakes. And but also you don't walk away.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one. Or Stonewall, right? Which was my go-to for so long. I'll just shut down because by shutting down and not yelling, I'm being a better man,
mm-hmm.
right? Because yelling at my wife would be the bad guy. But if I just shut down and close down, to which Erin, my wife, told me, I'd rather you hit me than shut down. Because if you just were physically punching me, it would hurt less. I was like, whoa, that was impactful conversation.
Yeah, that always threw me off. For the wives, a lot of times emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse. All abuse is bad,
Well, sure.
but men in general, we tie it to physical.
Yep.
And like you're stonewalling, okay, I won't touch.
Yeah.
Okay, and in a lot of ways, we've been trained that's good enough.
Yes.
That's what a man does. That's the biggest load of bullshit. The one thing we can give them is love, and we're withholding it.
Yes.
And that, I mean, I don't think most men understand how much that hurts their spouse.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then when guys can be the lighthouse and stand in the eye of that storm, that's when, some guys will join the activation method for relationships, and within the first week, they'll turn their marriage around.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't happen all the time, don't get me wrong, but it does happen. And it's because their wife can feel that they've changed. They're showing up strong for her and actually weathering the storm. And when your wife realizes you can weather the storm, then she can calm her nervous system, and now she's there.
Yeah, we usually have a group of 9 guys in the activation method. And we're always lucky that, because every relationship, every person's unique, but occasionally wives are very outgoing and they'll tell them, hey, whatever you were doing the last 4 weeks,
Yeah.
get back to it.
Yeah, do that again.
Hey,
Yeah.
you didn't do it this last couple of days. How'd you know?
Yeah.
Because I liked what you were doing. And what I try to tell the guys is he's lucky his wife says something, but your wives are thinking that.
Yes. Most men don't realize that. He was given a playbook.
He was given a playbook. Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Well, we noticed, after thousands of businessmen going through the programs,
Mm-hmm.
we noticed that one common trait, I shouldn't say common, but something that happens, frequently enough, is when things start to go well.
Mm-hmm.
Things start to go well, the man goes off of his routines, the things he learns, and goes back to old ways of being, the old legacy, if you will, in this conversation. And that's when things go off the rails. And to your point, it's coming back to the basics, sticking to those basics, and being very intentional and choosing the legacy that you want to live. And if you want to leave a legacy of, love and compassion in your home, which most men do, then you got to do the work to do that and do the changes that allow that to happen. And sometimes it's just a very slight shift, guys. It's such a slight shift. It's a little tweak here, a little tweak there makes all the difference.
For you, what's the one thing that makes a difference in your life that really gets you on track?
Working out.
Okay. For me, it's sleep.
Well,
if I don't get good sleep,
yeah,
everything else falls apart.
Yeah.
So I've learned that I get up at 5:30 or 5 a.m. and sometimes 4:30. What does that mean? That means no TV at night.
Yeah.
Because I got to go to bed by 9 o'clock. And that's just a choice. I can't be drinking because if I do that, I'm not going to get good sleep. Because if I don't get 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep, the person I want to be for my family is not going to be there. The person I want to be for my clients won't be there. And that's where my whole legacy begins, is sleep.
Yeah. No, sleep's a good one. Sleep's something I've always had issues with my entire adult life. Last night I stayed up talking to you instead of going to sleep, so I blame you. But for me, after above that, if I move my body, I need to move my body. It doesn't have to be exercise, but exertion, right? Something that pushes me. That seems to be the domino that falls everything else in place.
Okay.
So if it's not working out, it could be pick up basketball. It could be something else that I get a chance to do that's physically demanding. That really gets it for me. It does for a lot of guys. That's one of the first things we put back into guys' routines.
And they immediately say, I miss it. And oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. What's addictive? You get the endorphins. There's all kinds of good things that come by. But what's easy to do is also easy not to do.
You asked me something about values that made me think. When we go through some exercises, I don't want to go to too many details, but one of the things that most guys will say to me is like, I used to be fun.
100%. I remember having a conversation 7 years ago, and this conversation stuck with me, is I had built the businesses up to a place where I was out of a job. Like I didn't have to work in them very much. I was making a good living. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go do something fun. What do I do? We had moved from Santa Barbara, so I didn't have a lot of friends in the area. I just moved in. Most of my friends were other places. I still stayed in contact with them, but I struggled to find out what was fun. So I started asking other business owner guys. That's who I hung out with. Like, what do you do for fun? When you're not working. And most people couldn't answer the question. They couldn't come up with the answer of something that they would normally do for fun. I find that very interesting.
And how attractive is that to a spouse?
Oh, geez. Horrible, right? It's boring. And here's what I'll ask you guys listening to this. Your wife and your kids leave for a weekend. They take off. You're at the home by yourself. What do you do? What do you do all day, the 2 days? Odds are you're going to work. You're going to work because that's your default. You probably like working. There's nothing wrong with that. But because we've eliminated all those fun things in our life, we've eliminated the fun for what we think are obligations.
And I think also if we eliminate that fun, what are we telling our kids?
Oh, for sure.
Like, hey, this is what you got to do. If my kids look up and go like, look how hard dad's work. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So lastly, he looks miserable.
Yep. Oh, 100%. 100%. You know, and so that again, that go back to the legacy. What legacy do you want to live? And guys, it's again, you're just, because I've been doing this for so long, you're just a few degrees off course. Yep. Just like an airplane. You guys have all heard that analogy. 1 degree off course puts you in a different country, depending on the length of the trip. You're just a few tweaks to get back to where you want to go. And it's not that difficult, but you need to get on course and figure out what your legacy is.
Yeah. And we got to get out of our stories, guys.
Yep.
If you don't take massive action, we just go, I'll do it later.
That's why I say massive. It's got to be, you got to get leverage on yourself and move the needle. Otherwise, you're going to go from one podcast to another. Only reason I know this is I used to do it. Go from one, I call it educational masturbation. You get off because you've learned a new thing. You think you're going to remember it. You think you're going to make the change, but you don't. You don't. And maybe sometimes you do. You make a small shift. But you want to, it's just like a foreign language, Brad.
Yeah.
If I want to learn Spanish or Chinese or French, the best way to do it is dive in and immerse myself in that language, and that topic. Because look, most of us took a language in high school and college or what have you, and you can't speak a lick of it, right? You can order a beer. Most guys can order a beer in whatever language they study, and that's about it. But you need to immerse yourself in it to make the change. And again, going back to legacy, go back to that rocking chair test or your more morbid version of being at the cemetery, or if you're a eulogy. But what is it that you want to look back at your life? What is it you want to be the most proud of? Is it the time you spent at the office? Is it the money you've made? Or is it your kids growing up to be great role models because they've role modeled you?
Yeah.
That's the key difference I think most men don't get right away, is all guys want their kids to be outstanding citizens and role models. But are they role modeling you to get there? Right? Or are they not? And I think that's a big difference. So you need to make that decision.
I love it. Yeah. And it's really simple. It's action. We don't need to read more books.
No.
We just got to start doing it.
Yep. And being it.
Yep.
Right? As we say at TPM, being it. Brad, as always, I love the conversations. Appreciate you being here. It's always a great time.
I love being here. I wish I could stay here all the time. But unfortunately, I got to go back down to Southern California. Not too shabby of a place, but that's where I call home.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Well, gentlemen, as we just said, in the moment of insight, take massive action. And what are you going to do? What's the legacy you want to leave? Now, what I want you to do is write it down. Get it out of your head. Now, a couple of you guys don't like to journal. You have horrible handwriting. Then leave a voice note. You have a smartphone. Leave a voice note of what you want your legacy to be. Go for a walk in the woods, in the park, at the beach, wherever it is for you. But leave your legacy with intention. And then what is the one thing you can do right now, today, to get on there? If it happens to be joining something like the movement of TPM, then go to thepowerfulman.com/apply now. That's thepowerfulman.com/apply now. Get on call with one of our advisors and take some massive action and turn things around. Until next time, guys, have a great week. We'll see you on the TPM show.